We live in an ecosystem of infinite complexity. Millions of commercial transactions, contracts, and human interactions fire across the network every single second. To keep this system from collapsing into chaos, the government imposes three stabilizing forces: regulation, welfare, and control. This is the baseline function of law. But there is a math problem at the heart of this system. Standard parliaments and traditional courts operate with finite time and generalized knowledge. They are mathematically incapable of processing an infinite volume of highly specialized business disputes. To survive, the Indian legal system operates less like a traditional monarchy and more like a systems engineer. It centralizes ultimate authority, but aggressively offloads power through targeted delegation and specialized bypass lanes. Understanding Indian business law requires looking past the static lists of rules. It requires seeing an intelligently optimized ecosystem specifically designed to prevent systemic failure. This diagram illustrates the baseline of the legal ecosystem. It rests on two distinct pillars: the legislature, which writes the code, and the judiciary, which enforces it. At the top of the legislative pillar sits primary legislation. These are the absolute top-tier rules enacted directly by the Parliament of India. When immediate central action is required and Parliament is not in session, this primary tier also includes ordinances issued directly by the President of India. On the enforcement side, authority flows down a rigid vertical structure known as the SHD pyramid. At the apex is the Supreme Court. Established under Article 124, it holds absolute final authority. It exercises original jurisdiction over disputes between states and writ jurisdiction under Article 32 to directly protect fundamental rights. The middle tier consists of the high courts. Their writ jurisdiction under Article 226 is actually wider than the Supreme Court's, allowing them to rule on a broader range of issues while maintaining strict supervisory control over the courts below them. The massive base tier houses the subordinate and district courts. Here, the pipeline splits into two distinct branches: criminal courts, managed by sessions and magistrates, and civil courts, handled by district and munsif judges. The SHD pyramid provides absolute vertical authority. However, its rigid design makes it highly vulnerable to being crushed by the sheer volume of modern corporate and civil caseloads. If Parliament had to debate every minor technical code and municipal zoning law, the primary legislative pipeline would instantly choke. To solve this, the system uses its first major bypass: subordinate or delegated legislation. Parliament deliberately lends a portion of its rulemaking authority to external bodies. This delegation solves three specific problems. Parliament lacks the physical time to write every rule, it lacks the deep technical expertise required for highly specific industries, and it cannot react fast enough to sudden crises. When immediate public health responses are required, local containment rules are engineered on the ground by municipal authorities, completely bypassing the slow parliamentary debate process. This architecture officially empowers local governance structures, like panchayats and municipalities, to generate legally binding localized rules. But there is a strict safety boundary to this delegated power. Subordinate laws cannot contradict their parent act or the Constitution. If they cross that line, the courts declare them ultra vires, legally invalid and immediately void. Subordinate legislation deliberately trades the thoroughness of a central parliamentary debate for hyper-local precision and absolute speed. While the rulemaking bottleneck is solved by delegation, the dispute resolution bottleneck remains. Generalist judges in the standard SHD pyramid cannot efficiently decipher highly specialized corporate law. The second systemic optimization is the creation of tribunals. These are specialized judicial offshoots explicitly designed to drain the burden from the high courts. A tribunal combines legal rigor with industry intelligence. It pairs traditional judicial members with technical experts. Bodies like the National Company Law Tribunal or the National Green Tribunal process specialized cases rapidly because the decision-makers already understand the underlying science or business mechanics. The third optimization tackles broad market oversight through regulatory bodies. These are independent agencies tasked with policing entire sectors of the economy. The primary example is the Reserve Bank of India. It holds a strict monopoly over the nation's money supply and the daily oversight of the banking sector. Other major sectors operate under their own watchdogs. SEBI executes a three-part mandate to protect, regulate, and develop the stock market, while agencies like IRDAI and PFRDAI hold the line for the insurance and pension industries. Regulators and tribunals act as the highly specialized engineers of the Indian economy. They keep the complex, fast-moving engines of commerce out of the slower general courts. For corporate law, the ultimate optimization is to bypass the traditional courtroom entirely. This is achieved through alternative dispute resolution, or ADR. ADR is a formal mechanism. Under Section 89 of the Civil Procedure Code, the state actively encourages businesses to settle outside of court to save time, to reduce costs, and preserve working commercial relationships. This visual represents the ACML matrix. A is arbitration, where an expert acts as a binding private judge. C is conciliation, suggesting solutions for parties to decide. M is mediation, strictly facilitating communication. Finally, L is loc adalat, delivering fast, absolute, and binding settlements. The Indian legal framework functions as an adaptable, highly engineered ecosystem. By offloading volume through delegated legislation, technical tribunals, and the ADR fast track, the system ensures that the requirements of justice and the velocity of commerce remain in sync.